The Democrats have proposed their first bill with control of the House, and believe it or not, it's not terrible. Yeah, we were all expecting, like, okay, here we go. We know what's going to happen. They're going to take control back, and then they're going to do absolutely nothing, and they're going to launch investigations into Trump's bowel movements. And now, to be fair, they are opening up a shitload of investigations. But, we went over them in detail, and I'd say maybe 70% of the negotiations of the investigations actually make sense, and they should be opened up. Like, there's one, for example, in his personal business corruption and the emoluments clause. And okay, great, that's totally fair game. In the same way that I thought it was fair game if, a Republican Congress wanted to investigate the Clinton Foundation. I knew that was corruption, pay-to-play corruption, bribery, and all that stuff. So, yeah, investigate that. This is a case of Trump's president, and we know that he has all these businesses, and he's taking money from world leaders. And so, yes. Investigate that. See what's going on. Makes perfect sense. Anyway, I digress. This is actual legislation. Their first piece of legislation that they're bringing up, and here's what NPR says about it. The bill would establish automatic voter registration and reinvigorate the Voting Rights Act, crippled by a Supreme Court decision in 2013. It would take away redistricting from state legislatures and give it to independent commissions. Other provisions would overturn the Supreme Court's Citizens United ruling, which declared political spending is First Amendment free speech. They would mandate more disclosure of outside money and establish a public financing match for small contributions. Ethics language in the bill would strike closer to current controversies. When President Trump took office, he said accurately that the ban on conflicts of interest doesn't cover presidents. The bill would close that loophole while expanding the anti-bribery law and requiring presidential candidates to make their tax returns public. So, yeah, I like it. Perhaps it's not the first thing I do. You guys know me. Ro Khanna went over in detail basically what he would do, what the Democrats should do the second they get control of the House, which is Medicare for all, living wage. I'm way more in Ro Khanna's camp than I am with what the Democrats are actually doing. But having said that, proposing automatic voter registration, that's something we should have already had. And this allows them to put pressure on Republicans and say, I thought you guys cared about democracy. That's what you're telling me. We're saying, look at what's happening in Georgia with Stacey Abrams and the fact that Brian Kemp basically stole that election. He was Secretary of State in Georgia, and he got to oversee his own election, and he purged the voter rolls of people who were signed up to vote by Stacey Abrams. Are you fucking kidding me? So, and the Republicans are like, no, everything's on the up and up here, and we care deeply about democracy. Oh, you do? Okay, so then automatic voter registration. You're on board, right? Taking away redistricting power from state legislatures and giving it to an independent commission. That's awesome, and there's an argument there that that's good for everybody. So, if there are heavily Democratic states where the Democrats got to do their redistricting, well, then if you go to independent commissions, you're giving Republicans a better chance in those states and vice versa. The whole point is redistricting, by its very nature, if it's done in a partisan way, that's hacky bullshit that's anti-small d Democratic. So that's like everybody should agree to an independent commission. And then the idea of overturning Citizens United, again, a little bit of a weird head fake there, because if you watch this show for a long time, you'll know, if you watch the Young Turks for a long time, because it's one of their main issues, you'll know that that's not the end-all be-all. If you overturn Citizens United is a relatively recent court case, and it basically shot a dead horse in the same way that McCutcheon shot a dead horse. The reality of the situation is the cases that basically started this problem of allowing money into our political system, corrupting it endlessly, it goes back to the late 1970s and the 1980s. You have Buckley versus Vallejo and Bellotti versus First Bank of Boston or whatever. I forget the name of the bank, but those were the first, that was where the real problem was. So if you go back to pre-Citizens United, you still have an immensely corrupt political system. This is kind of like when Democrats are grandstanding and they say stuff like, we need to get the dark money out of politics. Everybody's like, yeah, get the dark money out of politics. Woo! You have to ask yourself a question, because the devil's always in the details. Why did they add the word dark in there? If I'm giving a stump speech, I say we have to get the money out of politics. We need clean elections, which is public financing of elections, so we could have a real battle of competing ideas and philosophies. But they always slip in, got to get the dark money out of politics. Why are you adding the word dark, bro? What are you doing? Well, there's a reason they do that, because what they're saying is still allow the corruption, but let's have transparency laws so you know who's buying your politicians. Getting rid of dark money means let's have all the money in the light, meaning let's have transparency. So you got to be careful. These are all the weasel words. This is one of the things I pointed out. Every time Hillary did this in the campaign, I pointed it out. You have Bernie who says stuff more along the lines of what we believe in, which is like, let's get money out of politics. And Hillary's like, let's get the dark money. Sometimes she would even say dark, unaccountable money out of politics. So those are weasel words, and everybody needs to know that. You have to do way more than just go back to before Citizens United. And then finally, they would mandate more disclosure of outside money and establish public financing for match for small contributions. That I love. So for all the small dollar donations people get, there will be public financing match for that. So we have a system that is more based on public financing of elections and not private financing. Because when it's based on private financing, Sheldon Adelson and the Koch brothers and, George Soros even, like all of these big money donors on the left and the right, they have more free speech than you or I do. Because when they give $100,000 to a politician through a super PAC or something, who do you think the politician is going to listen to? Are they going to take their phone call, or are they going to listen to the grandma in Cleveland who could only afford to give $22? We all know the answer to that. So I would argue it's a violation of the Equal Protection Clause, because we're not equal under the law. It's not like one person, one vote. It's not like we all count evenly. Now, we all know it's not going to pass. That's the sad reality. Democrats can propose anything as reasonable as it may be. Like I said, they could do living wage. They could do Medicare for all. They could do free college. They could explain it in perfect detail and, say, hey, it'll save money. It's something that's going to blow up the debt or the deficit. Doesn't matter. The Republicans are going to block it. But what I would do is, and you guys have heard me make this argument before, use their own ideology against them. So take their own belief system and flip it back on them for our priorities. So you put them in a little bit of a corner. Now, I'm under no illusions. I don't think that's going to make them actually vote the proper way. But at least you get some real conversations happening and some more media coverage when you do that. And also, sometimes it does work in the case of Ro Khanna and Bernie Sanders doing the Stop Bezos Act, where it was framed actually in a bipartisan way, where what the left likes about it is, they're saying you have to pay a living wage. But what the right liked about it was a bill that said, hey, we're not going to allow you to keep exploiting the social safety net. For every dollar that one of your workers gets on the social safety net, we're taxing you 100%. So you have to pay for everything that one of your workers gets on the social safety net. So in other words, even though it's a left-wing bill, it totally shrinks the size of government, because it says we're gonna reduce the size of the social safety net. So it had a bipartisan framing, and I think Bezos was scared of that bill, and he thought it would gain traction. So he was like, okay, yeah, $15 an hour, sure, I did it. Now, he got rid of some bonuses and things of that nature, but it was still a giant step in the right direction. 350,000 people getting a raise. So, this is how you fight. This is how you win. And by the way, that's why we need $15 an hour and a union, because the union perhaps would have been able to protect getting rid of that bonus structure. But it worked. It worked because it had a nice bipartisan framing that scared the shit out of people on the right and made some people on the right go, yeah, that makes sense. I actually agree with that. Now, so what would I do? I agree with Ro Khanna and what he said, what he laid out our priorities should be. Go for all the big ticket items and just pass it, and then get the Republicans on the record as being against the will of the people. 80% of Americans want to raise the minimum wage. Propose that, pass it, and then let the Republicans slap it down, and then you go around screaming, I cannot believe they spit in the face of 80% of the American people. Medicare for all, 70% of Americans want that, even 52% of Republican voters. Why not? Why not propose it, pass it, And then you get turned around and go, they hate Medicare for all. They don't want to do what the overwhelming majority of Americans want to do. But there are other ideas that actually I think would even get more coverage and would even have a better chance than, like a living wage in terms of passing. Trump said repeatedly on the campaign trail that he wants to do an infrastructure bill. If I'm the Democrats, I propose a giant infrastructure bill, $1 trillion infrastructure bill. The whole idea of it would be to take our infrastructure, which gets a grade of D+, and make it an A+. Okay? Giant job creation. Call it a New Deal, man. Do it. Why not? Actually, wrong. Don't do that. Here's what you do. You propose a New Deal bill, giant infrastructure bill. You take all of Trump's quotes. You read, everybody gets together, all the Democrats. You read it on the floor of the House. You just go through everything he said. Oh, we're going to make America great again. We're going to rebuild our airports. You go to our airports, they look like third world nation. You go elsewhere, they look pristine and beautiful. Quote everything he's ever said on that stuff. Because he said that was one of his major things. We're gonna make America great again. We're going to do that. We're going to do a giant infrastructure bill. So you propose that infrastructure bill and you call it the Make America Great Again Act. You pass it. The Senate is in a hard situation there because Republicans just barely have control of the Senate now. So what are you going to do? I mean, look, you can get every Democrat to vote for that infrastructure bill called the Make America Great Again Act, and you're telling me we can't chip away and get 3 Republicans, 4 Republicans? Shit, we might be able to get 10 Republicans on that. Then it goes to Trump's desk. Then what the fuck do you think is going to happen? It's called the Make America Great Again Act, and it's an infrastructure bill, which he said he wanted. And it's sitting on his desk. He almost has to sign it. That's what you need to do, and you need to do it now. God damn it. If I was the emperor of the elected Democrats, we would already have so many of the policies that we talk about here on a regular basis. I mean, that's a no-brainer, and you want to talk about, they used to say, Obama's playing 3D chess with the Republicans by proposing to them everything that they want. No, what I just described is 3D chess. That's what that is. Here, I'll look at all the things you said. You want to make America great again. You want to do an infrastructure bill. Well, here's that infrastructure bill, and it's called the Make America Great Again Act, and look at that. It got through the Senate. What are you going to do, bitch? This is how you play politics. Another thing is Trump said, he put in the GOP platform, bringing back Glass-Steagall. Why did he did that? Because fake populism. We went over this a zillion times. So say, okay, here's a standalone bill on Glass-Steagall. It's in the GOP platform. You guys don't. Why'd you put it in the platform if you don't agree with it? I guess you're just a rank liar and you lied to the American people, and they shouldn't trust a goddamn word you ever said ever. Do the same thing. Standalone Glass-Steagall bill. Now that one I don't think would get through the Senate, but at least you do have a strong argument to make for the next time when you're on the campaign trail. And then also, here's another great one. Republicans now are all pretending to be like, yeah, us? We're the strong party on outsourcing. That's what we are. Mm-hmm. See, Trump, he ran on bashing NAFTA, and he wanted to redo NAFTA, and he shot down TPP. Now, the reality is, under Trump, 93,000 jobs have been outsourced. Under Obama's last year, it was 87,000, so it was a net increase from Obama. And furthermore, many of those jobs were federal jobs that they somehow outsourced. I didn't even understand that one. I'm like, how the fuck did you outsource federal jobs? That makes no sense. So you could rub that in his face, but why not propose a moratorium on outsourcing? Say, listen, we need to stop outsourcing until we figure out what the hell is going on. Well, do that. Propose a moratorium on outsourcing. Put pressure on the Republicans to say, we're all about Buy American. The whole point of this bill is Buy American. Call it the Buy American bill. Again, Buy American bill. Okay, Republicans, you want to be against this? By all means, go ahead. Go against this. Go against this. I don't care. Go against this. And then if it magically gets to the Senate and gets to Trump's desk, you have a fucking ban on outsourcing, which he said he effectively wants to do. He railed against outsourcing and outsourcing deals. Forgotten men and never be forgotten again. He said shit like that. Okay, well, now you have a bill on your desk called the Buy American bill, and it puts a moratorium on outsourcing. Are you going to sign it? Go ahead, don't sign it. I dare you. Then the Democrats can clobber him over the head with a fucking crowbar in the media, and this is how you win, guys. This is how you play politics. So Nobody's going to listen to me. But, by the way, final point is, I don't even think the Democrats would have proposed what they did propose, this idea of automatic voter registration and matching funds for public financing. I don't even think they would have proposed this if it wasn't for the impact of these lovely new Congress people. Because now there actually is a real left contingent in Congress, and they're the ones who did really well in the election, and now they're there to put pressure on the Nancy Pelosi's and the Chuck Schumers and the rank corporatists, and they're going to drag them to the left more and more. So it's nothing but positives to having basically a Justice Democrats caucus in there now, to having some strong lefties in there now. And we are going to see the impact of that. And I really think it starts with this, that, you know, you do have the corporatists are looking around like, oh shit, we at least have to pretend now that we care about left-wing causes. Okay, we'll propose this symbolic bill, automatic voter registration. We don't think it's going to pass, but here, we'll put it out there. Republicans, put yourself on the record and come out against automatic voter registration and let us know you hate democracy. So I think it's wonderful, but let's keep fighting on. I hope that the Democrats adopt some of my ideas here, but I don't think they will.